Hey everybody, welcome to the pre-market stream that we open up to the public every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. This is Spartan speaking here. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen this morning. Once I'm done speaking, Beth's going to come on and give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that happen over the course of the evening, go through any commodities, bigger picture items that make sense to be looking at today. Once that's done, I'm going to come back on. We'll talk about any of the names that are gapping up, gapping down, that are relevant to be looking at today. We'll talk about the news associated with those gap up, gap downs, as well as the go through the technicals, build an action plan for them, and go through the SPY and the Fang as well. Once that's done, South Beach will come on, give you a breakdown of the analyst calls for the day, any individual names that he's looking at, and then we'll do a quick little recap of those names that I talked about this morning before the open, and we'll be ready to go. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Beth. I'll talk to you guys shortly. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
I am indeed, sir. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to those of you who are joining us pre-market here Wednesday morning at SpartanTrading.com. Both also live YouTube stream we offer. Well, we're back into earnings season, right? We'll talk about the banks, what's going on, and what my thoughts are in terms of the rest for the next few weeks and some of the tailwinds I think that's going to happen. So far, so good. I've been spot on the XLY, Amazon and Tesla. This is the strongest month for XLY. So it's working. And the two largest components are Amazon and Tesla. So it's going to be fun. We're going to go over a little bit of seasonality as well, just to give you some thoughts in terms of the next month or so. Well, we'll get into May, and you know what that means. We're supposed to walk away. Okay, so API crude was a draw, and it wasn't expected. Also, this is really hard. I mean, I can't get, it can be whatever it wants. You know, it's a random walk theory with this API crude. Any crude oil stock is, you know, it's a random walk. The thing that interests me more was this out of Japan, guys, the machine orders, much worse than expected. Month over month and year over year. This is the February number. So this is still a reflection of what's going on in terms of the virus, but even so, much worse than expected. We have to keep an eye on that just to see how things progress out of the Pacific Rim, right? And as you can see here, the consumer confidence in Australia, much better than expected. Now, you know, China continues to do what it needs to do to get in line with some of the accepted practices of free markets, right? Anti-monopoly, we know that they kind of spanked Baba about that, right? We know the next thing has to happen. They have to start doing something in regards to transparency on the accounting side. I think they will. When they do, I think that's going to be a huge capital inflows to the Chinese market. Once that happens, as well as the ADRs and not just the domestic stocks. Okay, that's just a thought throwing out there. Okay, industrial production better than expected in the European area, as well as month over month, year over year, positive, right? Labor productivity better than expected, right? We also have some auctions. The 30-year auction went really well here in the States, and that's why you saw such a big bounce. I shouted it out. I said in terms of the 10-year, this was the high. Now we get down here to this 150. I actually think, guys, we can come back down to 137.50. And I know that, you know, South Beach thinks that we need higher rates will be a positive. I disagree. I think that I think the market is telling us it kind of likes the Goldilocks theory, and the Goldilocks theory is more than likely going to be down here, maybe the mid right here, this 38, 147, 158 down here. Okay. Fed keeps telling us, hey guys, we're not doing anything, so sit on your hands, right? Okay, import-export prices, okay. And then we've got, there once again, the EIA this time around. Powell is speaking today, guys, at 11 o'clock. Be aware of that. And we do get the Fed beige book. I don't think there's going to be any surprises there. There shouldn't be any. But it's been funny that when there's no surprises, the market's been rallying off of FOMC type events. So we'll see if it can get another little bit of a tailwind off of the beige book. And then we have a host, Williams, Clarita, Bostic, Kaplan, all speaking. Okay. All right, let's take a look at insider trading, what's going on in terms of the CEOs, CFOs, yada, yada. buying and selling. It's most important, as I've stated before, on the commodity side. And you can see here that this Altico mining and this Crew Energy, there was a lot of selling, Canadian entities, right? And then here there was a Dundee was buying. And then you saw yesterday, we saw the Crew Energy as well today. And then yesterday was this next media group, okay? You know, it's fascinating to see how things are playing out. The only thing I care about is the top dogs and what we see here being snappish, right? Google. So these are fantastic price target raises, upgrades, etc., and notable. And I love it. I really love it. Okay, so we'll see how this continues to play out. What I'm thinking, and I've been talking about it, is you can't lump a lot of these individuals, look at the sectors, you have to look at the individual stocks. And I keep saying that there are weekly, monthly breakouts happening. Spartan is saying the same thing. These are momentum plays, even though they may fall within a certain sector. I'm more focused on the individual indices, okay, individual stocks, I'm sorry, except for like when I see something like an XLY setup, then I'm going to shout out like an Amazon and a Tesla, okay? He sees the same thing. So many setups, potential momentum breakouts. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun once that starts to happen. Okay, so let's take a look here at some of these. This is a company that I subscribe to. It actually does a really good job. It's not really pretty looking, but they do a really great job in terms of their seasonality. And you can see here that April is the strongest month, okay, for the XLF. But I think it's kind of, it kind of screwed up. And the reason why I say that is because not it screwed up, but don't forget, if we look to see what the XLF is year to date, it's up 18.62%. So I'm kind of looking at it and says, okay, yeah, but, okay, so let's take a look at the XLY. Okay, as you can see here, April, May, June, July. I mean, we're in robust positivity here for the, that is not the XLY. Let's see if we can get it. There we go. Okay, April, top month. Then it's sloppy choppy. So by the end of this month, we'll be out of our XLY, Amazon, Tesla. And then we look to here to October. So this is that, like I say, it's this May, you sell and go away sort of stuff. And then you come back at Halloween, October, well, you know the same, right? So these are the things that help us, at least helps me in terms of guiding the room where you want to be in, on a seasonality basis, intra-week, month, as well as throughout the calendar, okay? Let's take a look now here. There's some, this is a little bit disconcerting. And the reason why I say this is that S&P keeps making gains, but the breadth of it is not as robust as I'd like to see. Okay, so basically there's greater than 50 net decliners going on. This is going back to 1928, guys. So this is something that I do want to look at. So what we're seeing right here for the next month-ish, right, into May, right, we basically see softening going on in terms of sideways consolidation, softening going on in the S&P. This once again gets us to that narrative in terms of go away in May and come back in Halloween sort of thing. But let's take a little bit of a bigger, deeper dive. Now, I don't often talk about the Schiller PE, the CAPE. I don't, because it's been wrong so often. But we have to talk about it. But the thing that's more important to me, guys, if you look in terms of the cost of the market as a whole with its PE multiple, and this is where a lot of people are getting it wrong, it's nowhere near where we were with the dot-com bubble. I mean, this is, you can see it, nowhere near yet. You're talking basically another 20%, okay, in terms of a PE multiple, it could go up, right, before we even get close to this dot-com bubble high, right? And once again, you can see here as you go back reflectively, the earnings season with the Schiller PE multiple, here's the dot plot, right? Okay, I understand, but it's kind of like, okay. So S&P 500 after first quarter of earnings with season with Schiller greater than 0.2, greater than 25, 1950 to 2021. What does it mean? Yeah, okay, slightly bullish. Okay. And this is why I don't use the Schiller PE. And if you do use the Schiller PE, be careful with it. All right, so Wall Street is optimistic on stocks, technicals. Okay, that's fine. Right? It's still bullish, right? And you can even see here, guys, it's not even at the highs for last year. Just saying. All right, let's take a look in terms of this is the sentiment trader seasonality index table. So basically, we talked about this. I said end of the month, March, beginning of April, yeah. There's no red, and then you can see here it's obvious, right? You get into May, it's almost all red. You get into June, almost all red, yada, yada, yada. And then it doesn't get to be green until November, according to them. A little bit with Halloween. We go from there. Okay, so where are we here? I apologize, that is my little puppy. So XLY, top dog this month. I actually don't, this doesn't concern me. If it would get to mid to upper 90s, yeah, I'd be saying it's time to lighten up. QQQs, it's okay. XLK is still okay, even though there's some tailwinds with that, headwinds with that, sorry. And then you go over here, the 2-year. Oil is still down here, okay? Hold on a second, please. Sorry about that. So then you can see here, there's a lot of off yellow, which is good, right? VXX, US dollar, yada, yada, okay? This is a great heat map still, guys. It's getting a little bit long in the tooth, but it's still a great heat map. And let's take a look at what happened here yesterday with the S&P. I mean, this is my sectors, right? So we got to go look, XLF was down, XLP, XLB, XLI. But when you look at it year to date, XLF is, like I say, you can't look at it within you have to look at the broader strokes of this, what's going on. It's a kick-ass year so far, right? I still think XLP, consumer staples, has to do some catch up, right? That's my story and I'm sticking to it. This healthcare, I'm not so sure about right now, to be honest with you. I've stayed away from it. But, and as stated, this XLK actually can start to giddy up as well. So depending on how stretched this gets on the XLY, guys, I think the money will basically rotate out of this and basically into the XLK. So what's XLK? That's the Microsoft, that's the Apple, that's the FinTech, yada, 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 right? Okay, we'll see. Flow, let's see what she said yesterday. Tesla, Apple still get some money flows. We like it, right? On the other side, incredibly light hedging going on, really light. Does it really matter? Ish. If I start to see more and more money flowing in, but I did see something that I have to, did catch my interest, was this SQQQ. In the past, whenever this has swept, you have to keep your eye on this. I did actually buy some. I did not do the 12 in September. I went a little bit further out of the money. And we'll see how it plays out, because whoever does this, okay, I don't know if it's a specific institution, this tends to be pretty spot on. I found it really interesting, though, that they went out to September, okay? Normally, it would be a week, 2 weeks, a month out. Rarely have I seen this, if ever, them go out so many months out. Okay, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Here's a 10-year, we talked about that. Going back down here, let's see if it holds, the 158.3 on the yield. If not, then we're probably gonna go down here to this 140. So I still think this is bullish. Let's look at the bonds globally. Okay, US a little bit soft on the 30-year, down. A little bit of the yield going up on the 10.5 too. Okay, Canada, flat for the most part. The European, UK, Germany, et cetera, yield is down a little bit. Pacific Rim, Japan down a little bit, Australia up a little bit, Hong Kong down a little bit. Okay, all right. So let's take a peek here. Let's look at things in terms of relationships. So let's look at the 10-year against the UK and the British 10-year gilt. Okay, so as this goes up, this means that the 10-year is outperforming the yield. On the yield side, yields are going up in the US greater than they are in the UK. Double tap, notable. Okay. Let's see how this plays out. It's sitting right now on this 38 point, this fib right here, right? 38.2% fib. It should revert back to the mean, right? And you know, I really believe, guys, as things start to manage themselves in Europe, as well as the Commonwealth, I think we're going to see the yields starting to go up. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I think you do want to be, and that's why I'm in Barclays and I'm in Deutsche Bank to trade that. Okay. All right. So let's look at the German 10-year versus the US 10-year. Okay. So this is the opposite. The German yields, right, have come down, and the US yields have gone up. Double bottom, notable. Okay. This is setting up across the board, guys. Once again, this is telling me that the US, and this coincided perfectly with the stick landing I said right here on the US side, on the yields. Okay. Really fun stuff. I love this stuff. Okay. So let's look now at just the UK gilt, the 10-year, right? It has sold, and you can see this, the yield has sold, this is sold off, so the yield has gone up. It's sitting at an extension, okay? If we can break this extension, then clearly we're going to go down here, okay? And this basically is the 100, okay? This is the 100 EMA, right? So we'll keep an eye on that, see how that plays out. And this is the German bonds, sideways consolidative, right? And this you can see is on a yield basis, okay? And we'll see if it's, I cannot imagine by the end of this year, guys, to be honest with you, that a lot of these companies will have, countries will have negative yields. I just can't imagine it, right? Let's look at what's going on in China. It's been really stable, guys, since April, no rate change. So it's 3.85. See how that plays out, right? Let's take a look at the DAX. Broke out, I shouted it out here, multi-month, you know, the drill, multi-month, multi-year, all-time highs, yada, yada, and continues to go for our European friends. I'm thinking it goes, like I said, all the way up here to 18,812. EFA, I shouted this out as well. I'm in this, building a nice little delta trade for us on this one. As far as I'm concerned, just has to basically hold the 77.17. The EFA, and it's doing a good job of doing that. And we'll see how things play out. I think this is just the beginning of and this is why I'm, you know, I've been talking to like twins and stuff. I think we're going to start to see money peeling out of the US, okay, and going into Europe and the UK. And I also think we're going to start seeing money peel back off again and starting to go into China again. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so let's take a look here at FEZ. This is the Euro Stocks 50 ETF, multi-month, multi-year breakout. But as you can see here, this has been lagging, right? So I'm looking for this to basically do some giddy up here, up to 52.20, and then ultimately take out this all-time high. These are where I think the opportunities are right now in terms of valuation, catch up. Here's a nifty 50. We have to be a little bit careful here, and the reason why it is what it is, sadly, is because of the pandemic, the virus that's going on. It's consolidative, it's a pennant. I don't know, to be honest with you, if we have to revert back to the mean as a result of that. It's really India, but in terms of population, obviously, it's not as statistically relevant, but it's numbers, right? And Brazil, those are the two hotspots right now. Okay, let's take a look at the Shanghai composite. It actually held this extension, guys, on the monthly. So that's kind of, that's getting my attention. Pull back, holding the extension. I think we're going to curl up here, take out this high, right? It's got a way to go. And this is why I'm saying these are where I feel valuation is on a risk reward basis. So, and that's why I'm in the FXI. I did do the MCHI, and that gives me BABA, Tencent. I'm in Tencent Music, TME, as well as BABA. I'm in no other individual tickers right now on the Chinese side. FYI. Let's take a look at the Nikkei, looking good, holding this extension. This is a monthly. Okay, don't forget, the Japanese government is the largest percentage holder of all Japanese companies, okay? They can get this thing to do whatever they want, right? I think basically, if they want it to break out, it'll pop, they'll buy it, push it higher, okay? Okay, so let's take a look at the dollar now as a reflection, right? In terms of what's going on with the interest rates, okay? Did not break this downtrend. We nailed it from here to here. I have nothing on right now on the dollar side. I have a small position on as just a little bit of a hedge in terms of my swing portfolio, but in terms of my trading portfolio, zilch, okay? Breaking below should get all the way back down here. And this is why I'm telling you, I think that we're going to start to see some money flow, okay, in overseas. And here you can see the British pound, okay, right? Holding up fine and should start to curl up and go higher. Break this double top, I'll see going up to here on the extension, about 50.43. Let's take a look at the euro. Same sort of narrative, okay? Cat topped here, we have this downtrend line coming in on the monthly, guys. We're pushing into it. I think we break into it, and this is where we get back inside this quadrant, this box, right? All of this is lining up, I feel, for money flows to go into Europe, UK, and back into the Asia Pacific, okay? Here's the Japanese yen, right? This has obviously been weak, but we have a double top and it's falling back inside this quadrant. So let's see what happens with that, okay? And as you can see here, here's the Chinese new yuan. We had a double bottom here. We got this, we nailed this here. I'm thinking we sideways consolidate for quite some time, guys. And then we start to roll over again and start the next leg down. That's what I'm thinking in terms of that. And once again, I mean, in terms of on an investment side, you want to see the currency not weak and you want to see it strengthening. So then you don't have to worry about the hedges, because if you have to hedge, right, on the local currency, it takes away your profits, yada, 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 yada. Okay. This would be like FXI type stuff, but if you're looking at individual tickers in terms of investing in the Chinese market, right? Let's take a look at Bitcoin. I want to show this to you. I'm very pleased. My symmetry 64,135 definitely got nailed, right? All right, what am I looking for? I shouted it out, guys. I'm looking for 93,890 sooner rather than later. And I think by the end of this year, I know you're going to say, Beth, you're crazy. I think we're getting up here. I think 15,000. That's what I think. I'm sorry, 150,000. Okay, 154,830. That's what I think. Once again, this narrative is a function of the government getting it all wrong. People getting it all wrong. I strongly am committed. I'm pounding the table. I'm in it because I think it continues to be a payments center. And this NFT business, oh my goodness gracious, that hurts my brain. But like I said, we shall see. That's my story, sticking to it. That's where I think we go. I know a lot of you are a lot smarter in terms of these other things. We've got coin today, 250, I guess, was the initial opening price, but I'm sure it's going to be higher than that. I'm actually going to grab a little bit and I'll stick it away in my long-term swing portfolio, see what happens with them. I really, really want to see an ETF like the Canadians have. That's what I really, really want to see. Okay, but if this is what I got, this is what I got, So I'm still in block, I like that one. I'm still in Bitcoin, GBTC, I'm in Ethereum, yada, yada, yada. And on the commodity side, this is my largest weightings on this sector. Okay. Okay. So let's take a look at the VIX now before my time is up. Actually, my time is up. Spartan, are you ready, sir? You want me to carry on?
You can do the VIX here and then
Okay,
jump on.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so let's take a look at the VIX. Once again, the VXX, please. It basically does a reverse split next week. Right? Okay, finally, the VIX is doing what it should be doing. It should be getting down here. We've talked about it. It's finally starting to slowly leak down here, which is a good thing. Right? This is what you would want to see, or if you get a huge divergence, red flag, yada, yada. Okay, because we keep making all-time highs and there literally is no volatility, right? I'm telling you, I'm saying this from experience. When the VIX gets this low, you want to go out long indeed, 2023 and farther out if you can, as far as you can go, because this historically will be the lower end. The minute this starts to get up to revert back to the mean, which is like 19, okay, the options premium will start to get juiced, okay, and you'll make money even if nothing happens down the line. Spartan shouting this out just fantastically, and I will let him guide you on the VXX. It's meant to go to zero. It's going to do a reverse splint, so be careful. Okay, sir, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, let's get it done.
All right, guys, morning. Let me just pop up the screen share here. There we go. All righty. So if you guys are new to the chat, you would have been emailed that Discord link. Make sure you do go to your email and click it. Anyone that's returning as well or is part of the chat, we did last week email the new Discord links out to people, and that's the new method. You only have to click it once, and then once you're in, you're in. Anyways, so if you guys are new, do that stuff. We'll talk about what to do if you are new to chat at the end of this YouTube stream, just an FYI. All right, pre-market tickers on watch. Let's take a look at that this morning. Tesla, Roku, AI, Riot, GLSI, BTBT. So Tesla gapping up on continuation from last day's move. Roku highlights launch of Roku Express 4K rechargeable Roku Voice Remote Pro, and it's gapping up in regards to that. AI bouncing continuation from last day's move. Riot gapping a continuation from last day's move as well as with Bitcoin. GLSI, Greenwich Life Sciences highlights presentation of poster for its GB2 Phase 3 trial designed at American Associations for Cancer Research meeting. A little bit of a gap up there. And then BTBT gapping up in continuation from last day's move as well as with Bitcoin as well. So let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two names that we're going to be looking at today, Tesla and Roku. All right, so let's take a look here. Tesla, Roku. Tesla stock's gapping up. Let's see where we got room to today. Probably don't need to go above that. Let's look at this thing intraday. Perfect. So if you guys got the equity or the options on overnight with me, do not take any off. I think maybe a little bit of the equity, but obviously that spread we want to continue to hold. I think we can get it in the money. All right, 778.91 pivot to the upside today on Tesla. This level is able to hold. We got room towards 796.46. That level breaks. We can see continuation on Tesla into the 819.55 resistance on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 766.12 to 745.85 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push out the gate this morning. We'll see if we get a little bit of topping. I think what may happen is we get a push out the gate, a little bit of consolidation, and then we can maybe get a little bit of a move in the afternoon as well. Classic Tesla momentum move where, it does last multiple days. So I'm thinking, if you have something on it and you've been long, and it's working, don't cut it off, guys. Let it work. If you got the swing on from yesterday or the, not the swing on, the overnight on, make sure to be watching Tesla on an hourly chart to understand what's going on there. If it is holding hourly support levels, holding hourly trend levels, it is and does make sense to still continue to hold. All right, let's take a look at Roku. Let's see what's going on here. So Roku, nice little gap up as well. We should be above resistance levels. And we are. Starts to have quite a bit of range up here, it looks like. We'll mark last day's high. Okay, let's take a look at this thing intraday. Or 1764. Okay. So it's got quite a bit of room above that. All right. So pivot to the upside today is going to be that 389.75 level. Level's able to hold. We got room towards 489. That level breaks. 417s will be tested on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 383.66 to 376.20 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning bullish, looking for continuation higher. It did break into the gap fill area to the upside on the daily. It's a good looking chart. It's got a lot of room to the upside. I think we can see some continuation further higher. This needs to be able to hold that pivot point this morning. If it can't hold the pivot point, obviously it will come in. If it can, we should see a continuation push to the upside. So that's what we'll be looking for, continuation push on the hold of that pivot. So that's Tesla, that's Roku. Let's take a look at the next two names. All right, next to AI and what was it, GLSI? No, Riot. AI and Riot. So AI coming off the lows on the daily actually could get a pretty decent reversal if we reclaim some support here. Come on. There you go. Yep. Actually, just that one down as well. All right. So AI pivot to the upside today, 65.36. If this level is able to be reclaimed, we do have room towards 68.86 on the upside. Unable to hold that, look for a pullback to 62.73 to 59.92 on the downside. Sorry, able to break 68.86, room towards 71.12 on the upside. So we do have room to the top of that recent range high if we can get back above that pivot point. Decent amount of room higher on a bounce. Pivot point's a big area of resistance to the upside, so we'll see what happens. Going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Do you think we can get a push into the pivot? We'll see if we can reclaim it. And if we can, then we look for a bigger bounce on the upside. So that is AI. Let's take a look at Riot here. Okay, yeah. Okay, we're good. 68. Okay. Just want to see what the upper end resistance level is if we break through the high. Okay, so pivot to the upside today, 61.16, guys. This level is unable to hold. We do have room to retest the 59.28 to the 56.97 level on the downside. Able to hold, look for a pushback towards 63.89 to that 68 resistance on the upside. Overall on Riot, I'm actually leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a break below the pivot and a little bit of a sell-off. May get a little bit of a pop this morning, I think, and some profit taking kick in today. Don't think we get a little bit of profit taking today, especially on the Coinbase IPO. We'll see what happens, but that's what I'm thinking. Tab it extended on the daily chart there. So that is AI, that is Riot. All right, let's take a look at the next two. GLSI, BTBT. Looks like GLSI bounced right off the 50 MA as well in the short term. All right, pivot to the upside today, 38.55. This level is able to hold. We do have room for continuation towards the 40.62 to 43.47. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 35.29 to 33.20. Overall, in GLSI, going to be looking for a pop top and take the name short today. The name tends to give back its gains. I don't think the news very, well, I don't think it's, they're just talking about highlights of a presentation from a poster. So I think you see a pop topping and in the name, look to take it short. Not very material news in my opinion. So that's what I'll be looking for today. All right, let's take a look at BTBT. So I'll be leaning on the bearish side, looking for a pop topping, to be clear. All right, BTBT. Actually quite the move in the pre-market here. Let's take a look at this thing intraday. All right, guys, 1808, pivot to the upside today on BTBT. Levels able to be reclaimed. We do have room towards 1968 to 2065. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 1709 to 1618 on the downside. Overall on BTBT, going to be leaning on the bullish side. Today, looking for a continuation push, a grind to the upside. It does need to reclaim that pivot point this morning for that continuation push. So that's what I'll be looking for. Reclaim that level, continuation push, watch for the downtrend break, etc. I do like the daily chart. It's consolidating above the 50 MA. I think it's been lagging behind the other Bitcoin moving names. So I think we can get a little bit more upside. So that's GLSI, that's BTBT. All right, let's take a look at the SPY and the Fang. Short-term fib on the SPY here. 415.04. Okay. For 13.53, guys, pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. We do have room towards 14.14.16 on the upside. Able to break 14.15.04 will be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 14.12.62 to 14.11.66 on the downside. Overall, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side of the market today. I do think we can get a grind higher. Does need to break through that pivot point for it to occur. I do think, the market's in a slower melt up type of phase right now, and I do expect that type of action to continue. So that's what I'm looking for. So that is that. Okay. Let's take a look at the next name, Apple. I'm just going to screenshot this. There you go. I was looking for the tool. So that's the SPY. Alrighty, so Apple's still looking bullish on the daily chart. Let's take a look at where we got room to today. Oh, yes. Pivot to the upside, 134.48. Levels able to hold. We do have room towards 135.82 to the 137.51 resistance on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 130. Sorry, unable to hold the pivot. We look for a pullback towards the 132.66 support to the 130.91 level on the downside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point is able to hold. Leaning bullish neutral. I want to see continuation higher on Apple. Okay, let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon, let's take a look at that daily. Definitely extended to the upside into a resistance level here. A little bit of a double top in the short term. I do need to mark this level as well. And then I'm going to go higher. Okay, yes. All right. Perfect. Okay. 33.94.68 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We do have room for continuation towards 34.31.23 to 34.55.06. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 33.62.23 to 33.41.15 on the downside. Overall on Amazon, because it is extended on the daily, going to be leaning on the more on the bearish side today. Looking for some topping to come in a little bit. I do think we can retest these lower end supports and then find some support on those bottom end levels. So I will be leaning more on the bearish neutral side today, looking for a pull below the pivot and support retest on the daily. Simply put. All right, let's take a look at Netflix. So pivot to the upside on Netflix. Let's just take a look at this. We still in consolidation mode? I believe we are. Yep. It's a big flag on the daily. It is looking bullish for continuation higher. Just a matter of getting above the pivot point, which today is that 555 level. That level breaks, we do have room towards 559.56, which is the daily breakout resistance. And then if we can get above that level, we should have room for continuation all the way towards the 567.13. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback to 549.72 to 545.79 on the downside. Overall on Netflix, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a retest of that breakout level on the upside on the daily, which is the 559.56. And we'll see if we're able to break through it and get continuation higher. Certainly is a good looking daily chart. All right, let's take a look at Facebook. All right, Facebook guys, 310.70 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to be held or reclaimed, I should say. Room towards 314.41 to 319.80. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 307.22 to the 303.63 support on the downside. Overall, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a grind higher if that pivot can be reclaimed. I think it is just now bullishly consolidating on the daily after its pretty big move in the last couple weeks to the upside. So we'll see if we can grind a little bit to the upside. I don't think it's going to break out just yet, but it does look like it can grind higher. So that's Facebook. Let's take a look at Google. So Google flagging on the daily and on the hourly here. I am going to give it another level. Right, 2263. Oops, 2263. 48 pivots to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We do have room towards 2271.99 towards 2280 on the upside. Unable to hold, look for pullback towards 2248.27 to the 2228.62 level on the downside. Leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push higher to the upside today on Google. All right, let's take a look at the VXX here. Funny how tight the range is getting on this thing to the downside. I think that we will see a continued divergence on the VXX. Pivot 1007. Level breaks, room towards 10, then 987 on the downside, able to hold 1021, 1044 on the upside. We do watch the VXX for direction on the market. So that's why I am looking at it. And I do always have this up on the side as I watch the SPY intraday, because it's important and it will give you hints in terms of direction. Sometimes we have been seeing it recently, almost every couple days. There'll be at some point divergence on the VXX and the SPY intraday, and I think we will see a continuation of that, where the market will go up and so will the VXX. But like Beth said, you know, these guys are doing a reverse split next Friday. And then I think then obviously you'll get a lot more volatility coming to the VIX when it has, or VXX, sorry, when it has more range. But keep an eye on the pivot today. We'll see if it's able to hold that continuation to push higher or not. It's going to be a key thing to be paying attention to, as always. Because we got a little bit of time here, I am going to do the Qs and IWM as well today. And I do think it makes sense to actually look at the Qs. Tab it extended to the upside. So it looks like 342.06 pivot upside level is able to hold. We got room towards 343.81. That level breaks 339.76 will be tested. Unable to hold. 337.98 will be the next level of support to the downside. Qs do look good for continuation higher, only if they can get above that pivot today. Otherwise, it is a little bit extended. I could see it coming in. Slightly, that is. So that's the QQQ, and let's quickly take a look at IWM. I do think it makes sense to have a quick look at that today. So IWM bouncing off the 50 MA, a little bit of a downtrend test in the short term. Okay. So pivot to the upside today, guys, on IWM is the 220.92 or resistance. If this level is able to be held, we do have room towards 222.85, 224.32. Obviously, you can see that we'll be flagging on the hourly chart. We currently are, but we need to hold that pivot. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 219.35 to that 217.43 level on the downside. So we'll see what happens, or 217.47, sorry, on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side of IWM. I do think it can push, but a pivot hold is key for that to occur. All right, so that's IWM. That's a SPY, that's a Fang. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead pass it over to South Beach as I type up the pre-market action plan. And I'll talk to you guys shortly. South Beach, it's all yours.
Morning, guys. Okay. Hump day. Let's see what we got going on. Okay, lots of stuff today. Let's first look at the bond market like we always do. So 10 years kind of sort of found a level, it seems, for now. All right, 163, they had a couple of auctions, didn't really influence the price too much. And okay, that's what we got, okay? So that's good for equities, right? Not much competition at 163, and inflation's gonna run north of 2%. You wanna lock in a loss, buy bonds, okay? Let's look at the other countries, see what they're doing. Flat, flat, pretty much flat across the board, okay? So equities, good tailwind for equities as far as the bond market's concerned, all right? Let's look at the commodities. All right, you have oil up 1.5%, 80 cents. Okay, oil has been trading really in lockstep with the price of oil. So oil's up today. Different oil stocks should have a pretty good day, right? Copper's up 6 cents, 1.5%, staying in that tight range between like $4 and $4.15 or so, 4.20 for, I don't know, a bit now, like a month or so. Okay, so not much going on. A lot of lack of volatility there. Let's look at the currencies. Dollar's up against North America slightly, down in Asia slightly, soft against the Chinese currency and Japanese. And the euro slowly creeping up. It's at 1196 now. What was it, like 2 cents lower about 10 days ago? So 117 something, so that's that. And you got crypto, big day for crypto. You got, let's just focus always on Coinbase as far as Bitcoin's concerned. And it's up 1.5% at 64,000, okay? And we got that big, offering today, which we'll talk about in a minute, okay? And let's look at the foreign markets. Okay, so what do we have? A complete lack of volatility is what we have, really. FTSE's up 0.34%. DAX is unchanged, hasn't moved, down 11 bucks, 0.07. CAC, who cares? Nikkei is down 0.4. China's up 1.5. Hong Kong's up 1.5. Okay, we'll talk about China in a minute. I think both Lagarde and Powell are speaking today, but there's going to be no change, okay? They're cheerleading from the sidelines, everything pedal to the metal as far as, you know, being accommodative and et cetera, et cetera. So that's not going to change, okay? Market itself, I mean, I would come in sometimes, you know, after the market closed, 8 o'clock, futures would be up, down 10, 20 points. You come in the middle of the night, it's different. You come in the morning, it's different. Now they just sit here like a locks, right? Nothing moves. You know, the range is very narrow, lack of volatility, etc. I mean, you'll have volatility in individual names, but you try to trade those S&Ps with the lack of volatility that we see, and that's a real problem. Okay. Let's see, China overnight. So China is trying to, you know, read the Riot Act to basically their companies, anti-monopoly, and you have to comply or else. And they used Baba as the poster boy, right? And so it looks like everybody's getting in line. Now, I wasn't sure why the Chinese stocks were down. Was it because the Chinese government was giving them a hard time? Was it that the relationship between the US and China is so poor at the moment, and US money managers were selling Chinese stocks? I'm really not sure, but I think this takes one of those things kind of sort of almost off the table. And I think the Chinese stocks really want to go higher. And the fact that the Chinese government is kind of laying the ground rules out is a good thing, because uncertainty as far as any stocks are concerned is a bad thing. And as long as they know the rules, I think that's a positive for these stocks. Now we have to see if it was, in fact, money managers trying to get out and or the government part. But I think the government part is less severe than it was yesterday. And that's a positive for these names, okay? Gold, who cares? Or I don't care, let's put it that way. Virus. So there's someone coming out today, Airfinity. They're monitoring the vaccine over in Europe. They're saying this J&J problem, or hiccup, I should say, is going to cause a delay in the vaccination in the Eurozone. They think December will be the time period by which 75% of people will be vaccinated, which is 2 months later than expected. I've said it every day. I think the European governments have done just a horrific job at getting this done, and they're paying the price. All right, but it will turn. It's just a matter of time. And you had Moderna's CEO on earlier saying that he thinks we're going to go to a vaccine glut in the next month, in which case I would think that they're going to start supplying the Eurozone with vaccines, Moderna's and Pfizer's, in which case maybe this guy is wrong as far as the December timetable. Okay. Let's look at what Mr. Market did yesterday, see what we had. Okay. What was soft? So softness was down banks, retail, home builders, hospitals, HMOs, cyclicals, and rails. Okay. All basically reopening names. All right. And on the long side, the stocks that did well were the high PE tech, crypto, Fang stocks, gold and silver, biotech, and the vaccines. Okay, that's what did well. So basically, you had that hiccup with J&J, and so people gravitated towards the stay-at-home stocks, thinking maybe there'll be a delay in the rollout. I'm not really sure, but that's what worked yesterday. Okay, so let's look at what we have today. All right, so as far as group rotation is concerned, when I went through the research, what I'm seeing kind of sort of pervading through all the research is that guys, analysts are saying that basically the reopening is priced into a lot of names, the cyclical names. When I go through these names, I'm seeing like if they assume coverage of a group, they'll have 2 buys, 1 sell, and like 9 neutrals. Okay, I'm seeing that in the REITs also. Everybody's taking their foot off the accelerator and saying, okay, these stocks have built in the reopening, and I'm going to just change my rating to neutral. And they did that in a bunch of names. So I'm kind of sensing that these analysts are saying, okay, the reopening names are fine and dandy, but they're priced, everything's kind of priced in. So I'm thinking that the stocks that had the dip when the reopening names took off, high PE tech, Fang stocks, not so much semis, but you could put that in the same class, EV names, stuff like that, could take the ball and run with it from here. That's what I'm kind of thinking, because people have got to put their money somewhere, and if they're saying that these reopening names are fully valued, they're going to gravitate back to the high PE tech names, and I think that's what I'm kind of sensing from the research. But like Twin says, these research analysts are not the smartest tools in the shed. Okay, so you got to see how it plays out. But this is what they're saying. For now, maybe I kind of think that they're right. I don't think they're going to be right forever, but right now I think the high PE names are the right place to be. And we'll see. What else is going on today? Okay, so you had some earnings, you had some bank earnings. The big bank names that reported, you saw Wells Fargo and JP Morgan, they are down a little bit. Goldman Sachs came out with earnings, they're up a little bit. Okay, we'll see what happens tomorrow. You have a whole bunch more of these names, which we'll go over in a minute. But I mean, the big thing today is the Coinbase situation, right? Let's go right to it. What are they doing? The reference point is 250. Reference point is basically where they did the last offering, okay, where it's been trading in the private market. I think that's even low, but that's what they're saying. 250 is $65 billion valuation. So at 384, you got 100 billion, and you had an analyst yesterday that people respect, this gal out of, where the hell did she work? I'll tell you in a second. MoffettNathanson. The gal in MoffettNathanson put a 600 target on the stock. So 600 would be, well, yeah, I could do the math in a second, but basically 600 divided by 384 times 100, which would be 156, $156 billion valuation. New York Stock Exchange, just as a point of comparison, the ICE, I should say, it's not just the New York Stock Exchange, trades at a $66 billion valuation. Okay. I don't know what this thing is worth, guys. I have absolutely no idea, but it seems to me that the volatility, a lot people are trading this a lot. Okay. And this has become a point where people are very involved in this name. The Chinese, according to everything you read, is embracing the technology. Just a matter of time before the US does. I think it makes a lot of sense that currencies are going to be digitized for a million reasons. They digitized, they're going through the gamut of digitizing things, and they're just going to digitize currencies too. Okay, so that's the way it's going to be. All right, and there's no doubt about it. And this space is crazy. Now, what often happens, I'm not saying it's going to happen in this case, but what often happens is when the event comes, and in this case, Coinbase going public is the event, you get a little bit of a sell-off, a profit-taking situation. We'll see if that happens today. Okay, that is what happens a lot of times. We'll see. We'll see. It's hard to tell. All right, but you'll be able to see it. I am long crypto. The more I read, the more I see, the more I do, the more I'm convinced that you have to have some exposure to the space. Okay, that's my sense on this. Let's see what else is going on today. They had Moderna's CEO on TV. If you get a chance and you can watch this interview, you should, because basically he's saying that we're going to get boosters and he's going to be able to incorporate all the variants in the boosters. But what gets me excited about the stock, about what he said, was that he thinks he can, in the booster, he can put the flu shot, and he can make it so that it's much more effective than the current flu shot. So what I'm getting at is this company is extraordinary. And I know Jim Cramer talked about the fact that they may have a vaccine for cancer. Now, I know that's far-fetched, but this mRNA technology is pretty amazing. Okay, look at all the trouble that J&J had, look at all the problems that AstraZeneca had, and so far, you don't hear much on the mRNA stocks. So just food for thought. And if you get a chance, watch it. Tell me what you think. I mean, I thought it was pretty interesting. You can play it back on your TV very easily. Let's see what else we got today. So I'll go through the research quickly, okay, because no one really gives a damn about it to begin with. But you see on the sell side, you'll see what I'm talking about. SL Green was downgraded to sell. Vornado, same thing. Now those are office REITs, so it's a little different. People going back to work, how many days, yada yada, like that. So they downgraded those. Citibank initiated a bunch of banks, most of them neutrals. Did they like anything? Yeah, they like this Banco Popular, but pretty much everything else was neutral. Okay, TFC, STL, WAL, Ozark, these regional bank names. T Rowe they downgraded to sell. The PE does not coincide with the current growth rate, and so they put a sell on that stock. 157 target, stock's 176, and here's JP Morgan initiating a bunch of cyclical stocks, but I don't think they liked any of them. JBT they really didn't like any. Okay, they just have neutrals. Boeing neutral, AGCO neutral, Illinois Toolworks neutral, Tech TEX neutral, OSK neutral, PH neutral. You get where I'm coming from as far as these reopening names. They think they're fully priced now. We will see. So that's on the short side. PBR was downgraded, not really anything to get hot and bothered about. Goldman Sachs neutral, $10 target, stock's 8, so there's nothing to do there. Morgan finally got around to downgrading the IRTC from the other day. We talked about it in length. Stock target goes from 288 to 94. Hello. Wouldn't want to be long that and come back from vacation. Okay, so that's that. On the long side, let's see what we got. So JP Morgan airline analyst Jamie Baker, he's okay. He talked about some of the airlines. The ones he likes are the ones that we discussed yesterday, the ones that are not really exposed to business travel that much. So they upgraded JetBlue from a sell to an outperform. Why they had to sell this long, I don't know. But target 25 there. And that Spirit Airlines, SAVE, sell, outperform, target 54, stocks 37. And Alaska, again, not great exposure to business travel, target 65 to 104, stock 70. They also like Delta, which does have exposure to business, 63 target. They have a sell on United Airlines. I don't get that. I don't get it at all. And they have a neutral, they go from sell to neutral and love. Basically, I think this analyst has been doing a crappy job. What else can you say? He's missed the boat. Okay. On the other hand, UAL was reiterate the outperform over at Raymond James. He takes the target for 60 to 80. I think this guy's a better analyst than the guy at JP Morgan. And so he likes it. And I don't understand how you can like Alaska and Delta and not like United Airlines. It's priced very cheaply. And I think he's wrong. What can I say? What else did we have? MKM, they like Oxy, they upgraded to a buy, target 32. Oxy outperforms when things are good, underperforms when things are poor. They're leveraged up to their eyeballs, and that's the reason on that one. Okay, what else did I see? Hog, we were in this before these analysts initiated a buy, target 55, stocks 41. You know, listen, when you get a new CEO that comes in after a poor CEO, a lot can happen positively, and that's what's going on in Hog. Okay, this guy's 10 times better than the previous guy, and that's that. Wedbush had some comments on these Fang names. They downgraded Facebook to neutral. I don't get the move, but they did. They didn't give a full explanation, so that's why I don't really get it. I wish he did. He likes Google. The target is 2950, stocks 2200. So they like that one. They like Snap, and they have a neutral on Twitter. They also like Overstock. Stocks target 55, stock 77. So anything else here? Just let me give you the ones that I think are worthwhile. Okay. Well, let's see. Evercore likes Apple, target 175. I think the ALGT, that's a really good airline, guys. Someone upgraded that to 285. That's the one that runs, the hub is Vegas. So basically they bring everyone to the fun city. And that's that. So do I think anything? And Deutsche Bank, last but not least, they think that these chemical stocks, which varies from what JP Morgan is saying, they're going to beat numbers. Dow, WLK, Lin, LYB. Do I think any of this research is worth a damn? No. No. I don't see anything in here that I read today that would get me to either buy or sell anything. So I go over it because I go over it, but nothing really in here that's worth a damn, in my opinion. Okay. Kathy Wood, she keeps buying that SPFR SPAC that I'm long. That's a Sternlich SPAC, 3D printing of metal. It's a really interesting company if you get a chance to look at it. And for the second day in a row, they bought that Nancy dog Mary. Okay, almost 700,000 shares of that. She continues to buy the 3D, another 3D printing company, and DraftKings, she continues to buy that one. Open Table, she continues to buy. The stock goes down every day, and that's what she did. Okay, I'm out of time. So I'm going to give it back to Spartan, and thank you for your time, guys. It's all yours, buddy.
All righty, thank you, South Beach. All right, guys, morning. Let's do a quick little recap of what we talked about this morning. If you guys are new to the chat, not new to the chat, sorry. If you guys are watching the YouTube stream, I'm just going to quickly go through the pre-market action plan. You can pause it and look. You can obviously see everything's posted here. There's all the other charts, spine the Fang, Qs, IWM. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Tesla, Roku, AI, Riot, Riot, GLSI, and then BTBT. So Tesla gapping up continuation from last day's move. Roku highlights launch of Roku Express 4K gapping up all night. AI bouncing on continuation from last day's move. GLSI, these guys highlighted a presentation of their poster for their phase 3 trial, gapping up on that. Riot gapping up continuation from last day's movement and in sympathy with Bitcoin, and then BTBT, same thing. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two that we're going to be looking at today, Tesla, Roku. Alrighty, so 778.91 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold room towards 796.46. That level breaks, we can see room all the way towards the 718 level, 719 level on the upside. Sorry, not 819 level on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 766.12 to 745.85 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning on the bullish side. If we can get back above the pivot, I'll be looking for continuation higher. 389.75 on Roku, pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. We do have room for continuation towards 489. If that level breaks, we're going to see 417 tested on the upside, or room to that level. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 383.66 to 376.20 on the downside. Overall on Roku, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push higher on that name today. Let's take a look at AI. Let's take a look at Riot. AI pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be that 65.36 level. This level is able to hold. We do have room towards 68.86 to 71.12. Unable to hold, room towards the 62.73 to 59.92 on the downside. Overall on Riot, or AI, sorry, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher into that pivot point. That level is able to be broken. We do have room for continuation higher, so I'll be looking for at least a retest that level and then see if we can get continuation higher above it. Riot, 61.16 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. Look for a push towards 63.89 to the 68 level on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 59.28 to 56.97 on the downside. Overall on Riot, going to be leaning on the bear side today, looking for a little bit of a profit taking and it to come in from that extension on the daily. GLSI and BTBT, let's take a look at those two names. GLSI 38.55 pivot, levels able to be reclaimed or held, I should say. 40.62 to 43.47 will be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 35.29 to 33.20. Overall on GLSI, going to be leaning bearish, looking for a pop topping, take the name short today. Let's take a look at BTBT 18.08. Pivot, unable to hold, room towards 1709 to 1618, able to be reclaimed, room towards 1968 to 2065. Going to be leaning on the bullish side today. If the pivot is reclaimed, I think we can get a little bit of a push higher because this name has been lagging behind the Bitcoin names as of recent. Let's take a look at the SPY and the Fang market. So let's type this up as I typically do. SPY 413.53. Pivot to the upside today. This level is able to be reclaimed. Room higher into the 414. 16 resistance. Breaks, we see the 15.04 level tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 412.62 support. Breaks, we see the 411.66 tested. Going to be leaning bullish neutral on the market. I want to see basically a pull, base and kick in, and then a grind back to the upside. So that's what I'm thinking there. All right, let's take a look at Apple. Apple pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be that 134.48 levels able to hold towards 135.82 to 137.51. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 132.66 to 130.91 on the downside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher today if that pivot's able to stay intact, which I do believe it will be able to do. Let's take a look at Amazon. Pivot to the upside today is going to be 33.94.68. Levels able to hold. We do have room for continuation towards 34.31.23. Unable to hold, look for pullback to 34.55.06. Able to break that level, room towards 34.55.06. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 33.62 to 33.41. Overall, going to be leaning bearish on Amazon, looking for a continuation or a pull to the downside today on that extension. Let's take a look at Netflix. Pivot to the upside today. 55.03 levels able to hold towards 559.56 to 567 on the upside. If we can break out on the daily, unable to hold, look for a pullback to 549.72 to 541.79 on the downside. Leaning bullish, neutral on Netflix, looking for a continuation higher. Facebook pivot to the upside today is going to be the 310.70 levels able to be reclaimed, room towards 314.41 to 319.80. Unable to hold, 307.22 to 303.63 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Facebook, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a reclaim of the pivot, grind to the upside. Don't really think it's going to break out or anything. I think it's just going to be stuck in this kind of range, but I do think it can grind higher. Google 2263 pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold towards 2271 to 2280. Unable to hold, 2248 to the 2228 will be tested on the downside. Leaning bullish, neutral on Google. Looking for a flag break, continuation higher on the daily. Last but not least, guys, VXX pivot to the upside is that 1007 to be watching. That level breaks, 10 to 987 will be tested. Able to hold 1021, 1044 on the upside. And I might as well do the Qs because we talked about them this morning. 342.06 QQQ pivot upside levels able to be reclaimed, room towards 343.81. Unable to hold, 339.76 to 337.98 will be tested on the downside. On the Qs, it is worth noting that it is extended to the upside today, so I do think we get a slight pullback on that name. Let's take a look at the last one, which is IWM. Pivot upside today, 220.92 levels able to hold towards 22.85 to 224 at 32. Unable to hold, 219.35 will be tested on the downside. It is flagging on the daily. It is holding the 50 MA. I think we can get a little bit of a push on the IWM today. It does look like it's set up to do so. So that is the SPY. That's a Fang. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. And yeah, if you have any questions after watching the stream, you can go to SpartanTrading.com. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week. Okay.